Those who picked the Green Bay Packers last night, +2 at home, just to get boat raced out of your own stadium. I guess, AJ, that's probably for you to start the discussion, but real talk, I did not expect that. I thought the Lions would win, but it got ugly out there, AJ.
Yeah, Lions 34, Packers 20, and it almost didn't even feel like it was that close. I know Todd Schmidt will have to get his opinion here in a second, the longtime, lifelong Packers fan, but I don't know. I mean, early on, the Packers come away with big pick on the first drive. Jared Goff throws that pick, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. Let's try to get him on his heels. Let's try to make him uncomfortable. And it didn't matter. It's like you could not phase him. I know Goff threw another pick later, I believe, but he was unflappable. He really was. I love the play calling. Laporta was another weapon as we talked about before the game. Like
anytime touchdown.
They were so physical as well, and that was one of the thing that kind of jumped off the screen at me was how physical how they would finish runs, how there'd be 5 or 6 guys hitting a ball carrier. It was just it was a physical night, a great win for the Detroit Lions, no question.
Yeah,
and they're not sorry, Ty, but they're not only like physical, but they're also explosive. Like that's an explosive play. Like Laporta has explosive plays.
Yep.
Whenever they were just feeding Montgomery too. He wasn't going early, trying to find it. Gibbs, okay. We need to figure out Ben Johnson. I know you get a win, but we need to figure out how to weaponize Gibbs a little bit. But them just feeding Montgomery and saying like, nah, we're going to stick to the run. We're going to stick to the run. He ends up over 100 yards late in the fourth quarter. They just kept pounding away with him. They have an identity. They have a culture, but their identity and culture is tough, gritty, grind and pound. But then boom, Laporta hits a long one. Goff hits a long ball. It's like this team is must-see television. And last night, after Goff throws that early pick, you go to yourself, wait a minute, is this the same old Goff? Is this prime? Are we going to start seeing the eyes get a little bit wide, like a deer in the headlights out of Jared Goff, which we may have seen like 3-4 years ago whenever the Rams decided to move on? And then at the end of the third quarter, with the clock at 0-0-0, for the Green Bay Packers to have their biggest play, it's like, oh no, is this the same old Lions?
Yeah.
This feels like this is almost like the same old Lions. And then lo and behold, the Lions do what they've done all season, which is just answer adversity every single time, trust their culture, and expect to win. It was a beautiful thing. And if you're on the other side of it, the Green Bay Packers, I understand there's probably a thought that maybe the sky is falling. And the sky here, as we mentioned earlier, very foggy. So if it was to fall, you would feel it here at William Wallace Wade Stadium. But I don't think they need to panic that much, although Detroit is in their division. I think Detroit's a great football team. So, I don't think Green Bay is the only team that would get boat raced by that Detroit team that played the way they played last night. Ty, I apologize for stepping on you there.
No, all good, Pat. And I think you're right. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a time to panic or anything like that, but I certainly was not expecting them to just get dominated like that. It's super frustrating because the thing that has hampered the Packers for the last 5 to 6 years, it just happens over and over and over and over again, and they don't ever change anything. They still can't stop the run. We knew the line was going to be a bit of an issue with Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins out, and now Bakhtiari, is out for maybe the rest of the season. But Jordan Love was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks, and we said going into the season, the Packers they're not set up for Jordan Love to drop back and throw it 45 times. And you mentioned identity and the culture. The Packers don't have an identity on offense right now. When they start slow like that, they don't have a guy that they can go. You'd think it'd be Aaron Jones. He plays last night. He only gets 5 carries. He's not really involved in the passing game at all. So it's there's so much stuff they need to clean up, but I don't think you can put this on Jordan Love or the defense even. I mean, it's just when you get in that big of a hole that early, what do you expect? They make the same mistakes over and over and over again, and that's very, very frustrating. But at the end of the day, the Lions beat the defending Super Bowl champions in Kansas City a couple weeks ago. They're very good, and I think that's very evident after last night.
Pat, that's going to be my question. I guess that might bounce around nationally. Is it the Lions are that good, or the Packers have issues? Which one is it? Maybe it's a little balance of both?
Well, I mean, if you listen to LaFleur talk afterwards, I don't think LaFleur thinks it's all hunky-dory, with what he's got popping off. AJ, I think we have a video of his press conference.
Let's run that video, Foxy.
Bingo.
What do you think happens when you have to cause a first half like that, where you got nothing?
We suck, Pete. We got our ass kicked. If I knew, it wouldn't have happened.
Matt, they didn't blitz until the
That's a
last.
BS question, man.
Yep.
So what exactly was the question? Do we know?
What happened in the first half?
Yeah, pretty much. If you look back at the last two games, right, last night and then the first game, like they come out of the gates looking like a terrible football team. That's kind of how it is. Second half, they kind of figure it out. And LaFleur, I would assume internally knows that that's happening, is wondering why that's happening. So when somebody else spotlights one of your own, things that is going on, you can get to the point where it's a little bit chippy. But I like to see a little fire out of LaFleur.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. But I think what we saw there is LaFleur knows that they're in a transition phase right now. They're trying. If you think I knew, do you think it would let it happen? Okay, I'm a professional football coach. They're trying to figure it out right now as they go. So I think this is just a teams at two different phases. We're only a week 4. I don't think we need to mail it in. But if Bakhtiari's not going to play, and you said Elton Jenkins is out for the year, they're going to have to somehow figure out how to protect old Jordan Love, or it's not going to matter whenever they figure out the identity. Now, with that being said, there's one particular human who's on a microphone back there who happens to be cutting cameras as well, who his team is through the transition phase.
Yep.
His team is on the other side of the transition phase. His team is at a place it hasn't been for decades and decades and decades. Foxy, your beer chug is an embarrassment to the program. You need to know that. Okay, but I love that you're getting to do these, especially after primetime games late night, because that's not Detroit. 1 o'clock games and losing somehow. Now it's primetime games and beer chug, kind of drinking beer out of a mason jar.
Victory beer.
Awkward.
It's interesting.
Victory beers late night. Foxy, you had to be watching that, thinking to yourself, life is glorious right now. Congrats to you and all the Lions fans.
Thank you. And my biggest takeaway, and this has never happened when I've watched the Lions in my 29 years, is that I trust this team. When Goff throws that interception on the third play of the game, defense comes out, holds them to a field goal. That was huge. And then we get the ball back. We march down the field. We score a touchdown. Fourth quarter happens. That game's getting a little dicey. It's getting a little close. What does the offense do? They go on a 14-play drive, 9-minute drive, ground and pound, ends in a touchdown. Game is over. Previous Lions teams never did that. This team does it, and I really think it's just all coaching. Coaching is so important. Got to give so much credit to Ben Johnson, MCDC, and everyone out there.
Yeah, they also brought in the right guys, AJ. It's very evident that they brought in the right guys that buy in and feel they. How about McNeil? Loses 30 pounds and then back-to-back plays just blows it up. Like, he couldn't wait to be a playmaker for them. It's like their whole team is filled with guys that understand what their culture is and fit the culture, AJ. That's a massive piece of this whole thing.
I mean, it's a giant piece. We talk about culture. It's a buzzword. We all know that. But I think when you watch Aiden Hutchinson play, you see how excited is Dan Campbell when he sees, like, it's just the movements, how he runs. Like, he is always going 100%, it feels like. And I think it trickles down through the rest of the team, and that's the problem. The Green Bay Packers, I mean, nice little stunt here. And Hutchinson gets a sack on the first drive. And when you let a guy, especially an elite pass rusher, get a sack early in a game, then it just, like, it seems to snowball, and it keeps coming. And he was around the quarterback the rest of the night, pressuring him. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Connor, what was that dance there? Do you know?
I'm not sure what that dance was. I think it was like a hype boy kind of new Detroit Lions thing. I was a fan of it, to be completely fair. But, with the coaching aspect of it, obviously, the Packers, it's arguable how it is with them. I am, wondering why LaFleur didn't lead off with, I want to see my team go out there and fight. I don't know why he didn't do that at the start of the game instead of halftime, but also, maybe he's still trying to figure that out. With the Lions D-line, it's just absurd how much pressure they get with just 4-man. Like Ty mentioned, he was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks. I think in the first half, they didn't blitz one time. So, like, them being able to do that, like, I don't think there's any O-line or team out there where if you're missing your 2 best offensive linemen and you're going up against the Lions' defensive line, you really don't have a chance because of how good they are and how fast they are.
You got to give credit to Aaron Glenn, too. Like, they were the worst defensive team of all time through 8 games last year, and the only change that they made publicly was they fired the secondaries coach and made a change there, and then for some reason everything changed, and now they've been playing like one of the best defensive teams in the league.
That guy must have been such a terrible coach. I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but, like, how come that guy gets fired and then everything changes? Because the second half of the year, I think they were giving up the least amount of points throughout the entire season, and then this year, I mean, they haven't been in the discussion. We've said, it's Dallas Cowboys defense, best in the world, Craig. I said that. And then you have a San Francisco 49ers defense. It's like, hey, this defense, they might be the best in the world. And then now it's like Cleveland Browns, right? They've only allowed four red zone snaps all season. It's like the Browns defense might be. We need to talk about the Lions defense. And it's not even just a, what have you done for me lately conversation. It's like the last 10 games, this Lions team has just been completely different. And if it wasn't for who? The Vikings screwed you guys last year. Who was it?
Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks. Seahawks beat the Rams in the final game right before that Sunday night football game against the Packers.
So if it wasn't for the Seahawks, it's like, who knows what this Lions team does in that playoffs last year? Like now that we're seeing how they're playing right now, they were rolling then. It's like, man, the ceiling's the roof.
As they like to say. What about for Jared Goff, though? What do you think his future looks like? What is his contract situation like, A? And I know people say, he has proven that he is the quarterback for the foreseeable future. What does that mean? How many years is that?
I don't know, because he already got paid, too, which is like the good thing. Who knows if he wants to – I'm assuming he wants to stay in Detroit, but, he could probably do like the Kirk Cousins thing almost. Just kind of go year by year if he wants, or do like a 3 year.
He has one season left after this.
He has one season left after this. He's making looks like $31 million, which is actually – it used to be a terrible contract, which is now kind of a great contract because everyone else is making $50. But I thought I heard news and rumors that they were trying to work on an extension for him this offseason. It didn't get done, but with one more season, I assume this upcoming offseason they'll try to get something done. I would assume.
Boxy, didn't you say like 2 years ago, give Goff an extension because he won like one game for you guys somehow?
He won a game, gave Goff an extension, and then also I said give MCDC lifetime contract, and I still stand by both those things.
Real.
And now here you are 2 years later, and it's like, I'm thinking we should. Yeah. And also, I think the thing I like most about Goff is, and I talked about it a little bit there at the beginning, like Goff used to be a pretty easy guy to read on whether or not he was going to have a good game or a bad game. Like his demeanor, his body language, how he looked, it was normally pretty easy to tell, like, is Goff going to ball today or is Goff going to be Goffle today? And now it feels like he has moxie all the time. I feel like his swagger is like a subtle one. That NFL Films video of him like this, just casual in the middle of the field. Hey, boys, this is the one. Don't know if you know that, but this is the one. Knowing, like, he's just seemingly at his peak right now. And that's a guy that's played in a Super Bowl. So I think you'd want to lock that down. What he said after the game to Fitzmagic also tells me that Goff is in his bag, baby. Here's Goff addressing Fitzmagic, potentially saying something discouraging about Jared Goff in the pregame.
Thought I played better throughout the rest of the game. Hope it's up to your standards.
You played a lot. You played very well, dog.
Okay.
We're very happy.
I didn't know it was a poor man's anything, but
he hears that. He's listening.
Got him.
You called him poor man's what?
Matt Ryan.
It's about to happen right here.
Matt Ryan's a pretty good player, too.
Matt Ryan's a hell of a player.
That's where you find out.
I appreciate it, man.
Now, to be clear, Matt Ryan at this stage of his career where Goff is, how many years are they in? I guess this is a good conversation to have here about, is Matt Ryan the proper comparison for Jared Goff, who is, and that sounds crazy to even say that at this stage of life here in 2023, but it's like, I think what Goff and these Lions are going to accomplish, like Goff's legacy is going to be, I think Goff
this
is
is only his
incredible
fifth year,
football.
Pat. Doesn't it feel like he's been in the league much longer than that? This is only his fifth season, right, Tom?
Fifth season, third with the Lions.
He's 28.
What year did Matt Ryan win the MVP? What year was he in the league?
That was 2016.
But was that his eighth, ninth year?
I thought that was 10 or 12.
Okay.
I thought he was an 04, 05.
So late. We're not saying, are you saying could Goff ever be an MVP candidate or possibly win the MVP?
I think, bro, I called him a top 5 or 4 quarterback yesterday, and I got a little bit of blowback from around the internet for saying that. But it's like, watch him with that team. Like, he's going to win. He's going to win a lot of games. It's the throws he needs to make, he makes them, and he puts them in a keyhole. Like that ball right there to Laporta, I think it was his first reception. It was like the coverage was absurd, and he puts it through a guy's arm. Right? I mean, that's like a perfect ball. And then he throws these wobblers 70 yards on the dime. It's like his arm strength is bananas. And then you got the run game going in there. If they're able to have success, which I think we're all quickly believing is going to be the case, right?
For
sure. Believe that?
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
You can run the ball. If you can run the ball 32 times with David Montgomery, yeah, I'd say it's a good night for you.
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah. Like watching them. Sorry, Pat. With the O line, you sent the photo in yesterday to the group chat of the the first Montgomery touchdown where that offensive line is in the end zone on like a 1st and goal from the 5 or a 2nd and goal from the 5. Like, they're unbelievable. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this one is making its way around the internet, obviously, because a lot of people on the internet saying, I could run through this hole.
It's a lot of space. A lot of space in the NFL right there, huh? On the goal.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And, it's not just easy to make that happen. Moving 300-pounders, 280-pounders, it takes a right mindset, technique, everything, power, obviously, strength. And it's like they're all playing on a string on that Detroit Lions offensive line. And Dan Campbell's not going to let Ben Johnson ever, not that Ben Johnson ever would, but go away from running the rock. It's like they're always going to be a pound the rock. And then Jared Goff's going to take advantage with his arm on play action or any of the other misdirection stuff. It's like, I think it's a perfect situation for Goff, and I hope they work on an extension, and I hope we get a chance to continue to watch this type of team because remember, Dan Campbell was a doofus after his first press conference.
That's right.
In everybody's eyes. Nick Sirianni was a doofus in everybody's eyes after his first press conference. It's like now, McDaniel.
That's the formula. Obviously, we have found the formula, right? Start low, and hey, it can only go up from here. I guess is that what everyone should do now?
No, but I'm saying like the package doesn't have to look the same way it's looked forever. It's like there's a lot of success coming from these abnormal humans who happen to love the game, are great leaders, and have a football IQ that is.
Well, don't you think there is no normal anymore? I mean, just in life in general, but I'm saying as coaches, there's no what is normal. There's not like we've kind of over time the old school, spit and dip on players' faces while they're stretching and kicking people, like doing all kinds of the old school stuff.
That was your coach.
That's gone. I'm not saying anyone did that to me. I'm saying I've heard of that. It has happened to people. But I'm saying that old school throwback, like Junction Boys type mentality, that's not in the league as much. And maybe it's just, hey, whoever you are, if you're authentic as a coach and you win games, you can be around.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know Urban Meyer kicked that kicker, right?
Yeah. Booted him. I didn't realize he
yeah.
spit dip on AJ too.
Oh, no.
That's kind of crazy.
No, no one's ever spit dip on me, luckily, but hey, it could happen.
I have to make a correction. It's the 8th year for Jared Goff, not the 5th. And Matt Ryan won his MVP in his 9th season.
Look at that. Pretty tight comparison then, huh, Pat?
I think we're coming into the right spot. So Fitzmagic, who obviously went to Harvard, making the comparison, probably did his research there. But Goff hearing that, I love it. Him responding to it,
yes,
I love it. This is a different Goff.
Yes, it is. Confident Goff, right? He's got to be confident. And he knew going into that interview with him, hey, I won the game. We won this game. I feel pretty good about myself. I feel good about where I'm at. I am definitely going to address this in the first thing I say on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love. That's like, that tells me the mentality, the mindset, the confidence level of a guy. Feels like all the distractions that were taking place in LA at the end of his stint there. Remember, he was benched.
Yeah.
Forget about it. He was benched in playoffs for who? Wolf?
Yeah, the Wolford, yeah.
Rest in peace. Not rest in peace, but yeah, you get it.
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, he broke his neck in that game. That's the only way Goff got back into that game. He was like the 3rd string quarterback for the Rams in the playoffs while being active, and Jared Goff was.
Yeah.
And then Mexico happens. He gets kicked out of town to Detroit. I'm sure Goff was at a point where he was like, "What the is go?" You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Probably questioning everything. Probably questioning everything about it. So to see him now where he's at. And I assume Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson are a massive piece of that. And I think Brunell, he's up there.
Coach.
So I think the team around Goff has obviously done an incredible job reminding him of how talented he is and how great he is. But having success, getting to see Goff come into the human that he actually is a beautiful thing as well from this entire storyline.
Yeah, and we watched it last week with the Brady thing on the motivation. And granted, it wasn't another player who said something about Goff, but Brady's whole thing was, what did they say about me? Did they disrespect me?
How did he say it though? You got to say it like he said it, please.
He said, "What did they say? If I can just think about what they said about me." And that's basically what Goff is doing with Ryan Fitzmagic. Like he genuinely heard that. And then instead of, responding or acting in a certain way, he got pissed about it, was like, okay, I'm going to go out on Thursday Night Football after I already did against the Chiefs and basically tell this guy to go himself. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what you want in a quarterback like that. And it's absurd to think where he was. Like you just mentioned it. I don't think anybody thought that the Lions were going to be like this after the Rams trade. Like we always talk about who wins the trade, and obviously the Rams won a Super Bowl. I don't think there's a different or another, scenario where you can actually look and say, no, both teams won this trade. Not only did the Lions, get Goff and he turned into their guy, the Rams won the Super Bowl. And I mean, you're talking about the offense in an MVP caliber season. If Jameson Williams comes back and he's just unbelievable and he was the guy that he was at Bama, Goff might throw for 30 touchdowns this year, and it's going to be the quietest 30 touchdowns because it's the Lions, and there still will be in that back of your head, at least for me. It might be different for you guys. There still will be in the back of your mind like, hey, are the Lions still going to Lions at the end of this?
Well, what do they have to do to change that, though, if in your head and other people that may have that?
Win in the playoffs.
Win
one playoff game, and that's the monkeys off the back.
That's all we need. One playoff game. Anything after that, cherry on top. I just need to see one win in my 29 years of life. That's it.
How about like Dan Campbell? And I don't want to, bury anything or anybody, but like from this college football world, I got a chance to learn like some of the expectations in some of these schools is like, hey, we're winning a national championship. Okay, that's what we were winning a national championship here. So if you win one fluke or lose one fluke game like week 4, season's already over. For the rest of the season, you're just gonna have to deal with people wanting to get you fired. And then there's some coaching jobs that you get in. It's like, hey, you win 7 games here, 8 games here, like you're gonna be a hero. Like they're gonna have a parade for you literally down Main Street. They haven't done this in that long. Like Dan Campbell knew what he was signing up for, how tough it was gonna be, but he also knew that if he wins there, he's a hero forever. There will be Dan Campbell statues and Jared Goff statues all around Detroit if they win up there. Is that not right, Foxy?
It's 1,000% right. I would give them both lifetime contracts. And that's another thing what I love about Aiden Hutchinson. And he mentioned something about how growing up, Aaron Rodgers always dominated Lions because Aiden Hutchinson from Detroit went to Michigan, and then he falls in our lap at number 2 overall pick a couple years ago. And so that makes it even more special. You got to love a guy like that that's going to be the stalwart of the defense for years to come. So it just feels like destiny almost. It really does.
Oh, yeah. Football gods.
Football gods, exactly.
Blessing Detroit.
Foxy, triple O's on that clock, third quarter, biggest play of the game for Green Bay. You thought of Justin Tucker, 66-yard field goal?
I thought of everything. Every single thing I can remember. When I saw that, I said, here we go. But what do? 14 plays, 9-minute drive, ground and pound. There's nothing better as a fan to watch your team just pound the hell out of the other team on offense and defense. It's unbelievable.
At their house. And you know who else loves that? Goff. When Goff gets the play call, and it's like, all right, run to the left. Yeah, you got it. All right, here we go. Boom. And then into huddle. Here we go, boys. Another one. What are we doing? Run right. Okay, we're running right. All right, sweet. Boom. All right, how many times are we doing this? 10 out of these 4. We are going to take this game over. It's not the first time they've done this either. This is Detroit's MO. That 4-minute offense that everybody talks about ending games where you're just trying to matriculate your way down the field, a lot of running. A lot of people fail at that. It's just, I don't know what the percentages are. We should look into that. Those 4-minute offenses seem to fail much more often than they're ever successful. It's like Detroit has almost made like their MO off of like, nah, we are the 4-minute offense.
Week 1, they did it against the Chiefs. Week 3 against the Falcons, and then last night we saw it. They were all game-clinching drives, and you just love that. That's why I trust this team versus old teams in the past.
Foxy, let's run that Dan Campbell video. We got some Dan Campbell post-game, Pat. I think people, anytime we have him on camera, we need to show him.
Bingo.
You guys went and earned that win. Yes. Everything about it, man. That's 1. That's 2 in a row, and it's a conference win, gentlemen. Great. We're 3-1 at the quarter. Yep. Man, the sky's the limit. We keep playing defense the way we're playing, and we control the game on offense. We control the game on offense. We can do whatever we want to do, man, but we can never lose this. We can never lose this. It is a team ball. Who said that? Oh, team ball. There ain't no doubt. Let's go. That's an outstanding win, man. I'm so proud of you guys. That's 1, man. That is 1 division win. You guys get your rest. Enjoy this break. You can earned it, and then we move on and we get ready for Carolina after this.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how about that fucking defense today, boys?
Yeah. Good leader right there.
Keep doing this. This is a start. Keep fucking doing this. Know who the fuck we are. Let's go. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that. I like that. I didn't see that video. I just heard Goff drop 3 F-bombs in about 4 seconds.
Uh-huh.
Is that what I heard?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys
Correct.
heard? And then Dan Campbell, I think he was saying the F dash 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 word too. You know what I mean in there?
A lot of them.
That vibe. Let's go. Is this the new America's team? AJ Hawk.
I mean,
this
that's
America's team.
Dan Campbell. You heard him right there. He said, remember this, and that's true. Like any moment you can go, if you as a team can go into somebody's house and beat them, night game, prime time, Thursday night, Amazon Prime Video, feels pretty darn good. It really does. So why not?
In front of their wife and kids,
Boom.
right?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. You mentioned it, Pat. Like they're not winning ugly either.
No.
Like this, they are almost like must-watch TV right now because they're so physical on defense and they get after the quarterback so much. And then on offense, it really does feel like they can score on every possession. Like they are incredibly fun to watch. Like there are some teams and the Eagles right now, for instance, like they're undefeated, but they're kind of winning ugly. They're not super flashy. Like the Lions go out there and like they are an incredibly exciting brand of football. They're not quite the Chiefs, but it almost feels like in terms of how they play, they're the NFC's counterpart to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was when you watch their offensive line, Frank Ragnow. Every time I would zero in every once in a while and try not to watch the ball, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this offensive line, Sewell, everybody. And Ragnow, it all starts with him. I feel like at the center position.
Oh, yeah.
Watch him if you want to see a guy that when I watch him. He makes me think like, dang, this guy loves football. He enjoys being super physical. He enjoys getting to the second level. Like, I don't know. When you have a center like that, as we see Jason Kelsey with the Philadelphia Eagles, we talk about him all the time. But I think Ragnow is one of those guys that is just ascending and continuing to get better and better. And he's so physical. It seems like a great fun place to play, actually.